Yesterday, as I was rehearsing the readings for today, I could not get through reading the prayer by Ina J. Hughes without crying. At one point, I had to pause and hold my head in my hands and catch my breath before I could continue. And it surprised me because I had read it several times earlier in the week without this reaction as I prepared the worship service for today, but I had not read it aloud. Something about reading it aloud, slowly, with focused attention and feeling, is what unlocked the tears. And then, besides worrying that I might do the same today, I struggled with how clearly it expresses the tragic disparities amongst the life experiences of our world's 1.4 billion children. The children I work with each day in my preschool classroom in Santa Monica are the children who put chocolate fingers everywhere and who like to be tickled, who stomp in puddles and ruin their new pants, who sneak popsicles before supper. They make me laugh, and they share the wonder of the world with me, and I am grateful to be their teacher and learn with them. I don't have to worry if they have a safe place to live, or enough to eat, or people who love and protect them. But I constantly think about all the children who do not have those things. The children whose nightmares are in the day, who go to bed hungry and cry themselves to sleep, and whose monsters are real. I recently completed my required child abuse mandated reporter training, during which I was presented with stark evidence of some of those monsters. And we see other kinds of monsters when we watch the news and we read the newspaper. As we have walked together through this month exploring our congregational worship theme of intention, I personally have been thinking about the work that must be done to take care of all children. In my Chalice Circle, we considered these words from Buddhist teacher Philip Moffitt. You set your intentions based on understanding what matters most to you and make a commitment to align your worldly actions with your inner values. Goals help you make your place in the world and be an effective person, but being grounded in intention is what provides integrity and unity in your life. For me, one of my deepest values is the care and protection of children. I have spent the 30-plus years of my adult life in service to children and families in a variety of ways. I feel naturally at home with young children and in partnering with other adults to support the growth of healthy, happy human beings. This congregation is full of such adults for whom I am so grateful. In community with my family, friends, and colleagues, I am continually working to be a good teacher and a good parent. I'm committed to being a good citizen and an advocate with a vision of a society that truly cares for and supports the well-being of all children. But until we as a nation value all children as beings of inherent dignity and worth, we're not there yet. We will not fulfill our moral, ethical, and spiritual responsibilities as adults and citizens. So one of my current intentions is to strengthen and deepen my commitment to this work. One of the things I've read recently on this topic that I now think about each day is an excerpt from a sermon by the Reverend Dr. Patrick T. O'Neill. He shared that among one of the most accomplished and fabled tribes of Africa, the Maasai, the traditional greeting is Kasirian Ngera. It means, and how are the children? And Reverend Neil offered these thoughts. This traditional greeting acknowledges the high value that the Maasai always place on their children's well-being. Even people with no children of their own give the traditional answer, all the children are well. Meaning, of course, that peace and safety prevail, that the priorities of protecting the young, the powerless, are in place, that Maasai society has not forgotten its reasons for being, its proper functions and responsibilities. All the children are well means life is good. It means that the daily struggles of existence do not preclude proper caring for their young. And he goes on to ask, I wonder how it might affect our consciousness of our own children's welfare if in our culture we took to greeting each other with this daily question, and how are the children? I wonder if we heard that question and passed it along to each other a dozen times a day, if it would begin to make a difference in the reality of how children are thought of or cared for in our country. I wonder if every adult among us, parent and non-parent alike, felt an equal weight for the daily care and protection of all the children in our community, in our town and state, in our country. I wonder if we could truly say, without hesitation, the children are well. Yes, all the children are well. So, Kassirian and Gara, how are the children? I think they are well here with us at CVUUF. But last month, the Children's Defense Fund, a U.S. nonprofit organization founded in 1973 that focuses on child advocacy and research, released its report, The State of America's Children 2017. This report provides a comprehensive look at the status of America's children in 11 areas: child population, child poverty, income and wealth inequality, housing and homelessness, child hunger and nutrition, child health, early childhood education, child welfare, juvenile justice, and gun violence. In her foreword to the report, CDF founder and president Marian Wright Edelman states, "This is a very challenging and scary time for children and all of us. A half-century of struggle for a more inclusive and just nation is at risk. We know how to make progress for children and have seen important gains. We must hold and build on these gains, always keeping in sight that we have much further to go. In 2017, the state of America's children is under attack by an onslaught of new policies that would massacre the hopes, dreams, and basic survival and development needs of millions of babies, children, and youth." This 80-page report, plus the additional 50 state fact sheets, outline and explains some very sobering facts. And I am going to read a litany of these facts. Millions of America's children today are still suffering from hunger, homelessness, and hopelessness. More than 13.2 million children are poor. More than 1.2 million homeless children are enrolled in public schools. About 14.8 million children struggle against hunger in food-insecure households. 3.9 million children still lack the health coverage they need to survive and thrive. Millions of young children need quality early childhood programs during their critical years of early brain development, yet only 5% of eligible infants and toddlers are enrolled in early Head Start, and only 54% of eligible 3- and 4-year-olds are served by Head Start. The majority of all public school 4th and 8th graders cannot read at grade level, including more than 75% of Black, Hispanic, and American Indian Alaska Native children. Every 47 seconds, a child is abused or neglected, and the number of children in foster care is increasingly, rapidly growing in some parts of our country as the opioid crisis spins out of control. So it seems quite clear in our wider world we cannot answer all the children are well. At the heart of this injustice are several factors, and one of these is the fact that children are the largest group of our citizens who cannot register to vote, and therefore cannot directly participate in the political and social processes that affect their lives. It is incumbent upon the rest of society, adults, to protect children by considering children's needs and making their well-being a primary and non-negotiable social goal. The health and welfare of children are not only the responsibility of their parents. And there are several assumptions that must be challenged by advocates for children in order for us to make more progress. According to early childhood educator and advocate Stacy Goffin, there are 4 traditional assumptions that underlie much of U.S. social policy toward children and their families. Number 1, every person is in charge of his or her own destiny and is primarily responsible for the outcome. Number 2, families should be self-sufficient and able to care for their own needs independently. 3, individuals seeking help are seen as incompetent rather than in need of support. And number 4, government support is seen as an invasion into family life. These traditional assumptions deny the dependence of individuals and families upon the social, economic, and political conditions within the society, including the insidious effects of racial, economic, and gender inequalities. They deny the interdependence of all aspects of society. So Goffin offers a set of alternate child and family-centered principles that I think speak more clearly to both our Unitarian Universalist religious values and to the realities of life in our complex society. Number 1, all children are the responsibilities of both society and their families. Number 2, the self-sufficient family is a myth. 3, there is no single best family form. And number 4, ensuring the provision of services to children is a political issue. And these alternate assumptions, while recognizing that families have the responsibility for caring for and raising their children, also acknowledge that the wider society is responsible for supporting families and empowering them to better meet their responsibilities toward their children. These 2 sets of assumptions are also essential lenses through which to view the state of the world's children. Each year, UNICEF releases its flagship publication, The State of the World's Children, which annually examines one significant issue affecting the well-being of the world's children. This report includes supporting data and statistics and is published in multiple languages. These annual reports also paint a picture of a world where millions of children are trapped in intergenerational cycles of injustice and disadvantage that endanger their futures and the future of their societies. So last summer, I stood in this pulpit and shared some reflections on the words of William Butler Yeats. Too many things are occurring for a big heart to hold. And I know everything I just shared with you is indeed too much for just one heart, however large, to hold and to address in action. But here, we are many hearts united in the work of transforming the world through justice and compassion. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe that what touches one of us touches us all. We say these words each Sunday in our worship service. We believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every human being and that all people on our planet have an equal claim to life, liberty, and justice. We believe in the ethical application of religious values through constructive social and community involvement. And we believe in the driving force of love, seeing love as the governing principle of human relationships, which, in the words of the Reverend David O. Rankin, always seeks the welfare of others, never seeks to hurt or destroy. These beliefs define who we are at our very core and provide the anchor for our effort to live as a people of intention. There are many ways to be advocates for children. Recognizing an individual child or family in need and being willing to do something to help is indeed a form of advocacy. Each Sunday, we collect food and supplies for MANA, providing support for families in our local community. I know many members of our congregation are consistent and persistent participants in local school board meetings, a form of advocacy that supports the struggle for meaningful, respectful, and open-minded educational programs. Our social justice ministry teams, working to support racial, economic, and gender equality, are another form of our advocacy for programs, policies, and legislation that support the well-being of children and families. We can each make a commitment to be well-informed and conscientious voters. Read the Children's Defense Fund and UNICEF reports. They are available online at no cost. Learn about California Senate Bill SB 837 and Assembly Bill 1754, currently under consideration in Sacramento, whose goals are to expand access to early childhood education. Each has a different strategy for providing more children with the kind of high-quality learning that can have a big impact on later school performance and overall life outcomes. I remember reading the poem Children Learn What They Live by Dorothy Law Nolte when I was a child in the 1970s. It has stayed with me all these years, and I realized after reading it again this past week that it gave me a clear blueprint for how to be with children. If children live with criticism, they learn to condemn. If children live with hostility, they learn to fight. If children live with fear, they learn to be apprehensive. If children live with pity, they learn to feel sorry for themselves. If children live with ridicule, they learn to feel shy. If children live with jealousy, they learn to feel envy. If children live with shame, they learn to feel guilty. If children live with encouragement, they learn confidence. If children live with tolerance, they learn patience. If children live with praise, they learn appreciation. If children live with acceptance, they learn to love. If children live with approval, they learn to like themselves. If children live with recognition, they learn it is good to have a goal. If children live with sharing, they learn generosity. If children live with honesty, they learn truthfulness. If children live with fairness, they learn justice. If children live with kindness and consideration, they learn respect. If children live with security, they learn to have faith in themselves and in those about them. If children live with friendliness, they learn the world is a nice place in which to live. I assure you that this is not just a set of platitudes. Children learn from every interaction with every adult they encounter. Throughout my career, I've seen the effects adults have on children, and not only the behavior of their family members. I believe being an advocate for children also means being a role model of compassionate, fair, and just behavior. In our relationships with the children we encounter, we each have an opportunity to assure them that we accept our responsibilities as adults to care for them. This is action we can all take, regardless of our profession, our age, our socioeconomic status, or the amount or time or energy we have to give to other forms of advocacy. Before I conclude this sermon, I have one more reflection to offer based on my experience as a teacher. Children's lives are lived through childhoods constructed for them by adult understandings of childhood and what children are and should be. The choices we make about who we think children are determine the policies and institutions we create. Let us remember that children have voices of their own and should be listened to as a means of taking them seriously, involving them in democratic dialogue and decision-making and understanding childhood. Relationships between adults and children involve the exercise of power as well as the expression of love. It is necessary to take into account the way in which adult power is maintained and used. Educators Gunilla Dahlberg, Peter Moss, and Alan Pence remind us that children exist not only in the context of their families, but also in the wider world. For each child, this means being a citizen with a citizen's rights, and as they are capable of assuming them, citizens' responsibilities. It also means they are in active relationship with their world. They are not merely innocents, apart from the world, to be sheltered by adults in some nostalgic representation of the past. Rather, children are in the world as it is today, They embody that world, are acted upon that world, and they act on it and make meaning of it. We must see children as our partners in building a better world, not just the recipients of that world. We want every child to grow up into a healthy and caring adult. This will not happen unless we first ensure that all children's basic needs are met: adequate nutrition, safe shelter, necessary health care, high-quality education, and a voice in decisions that affect them. We must persevere, and that's our theme next month, in keeping these issues in the arena of public debate. As a community, we can be that stable bow that sends children soaring into the future with their unique and valuable thoughts and souls, nourished by our love and care. With the staggering number of troubles we face as a nation and planet, we cannot afford to miss any opportunity to nurture the human potential for creativity and innovation that lies within every child, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow. Working together, may all of our children be well.